Coming up on Tech News today, Sprint going LTE? Absolutely maybe. Also, Google wants to speed up your web pages and glow-in-the-dark dogs. I kid you not. All of that and more coming up next.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by Cachefly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today for Thursday, July 28th, 2011. Tech News Today is brought to you by Squarespace.com, the fast and easy way to create a high-quality website or blog. For a free trial and 10% off your new account for 6 months, go to Squarespace.com and use the offer code TNT7. Welcome to Tech News Today. I'm Tom Merritt.
I'm Sarah Lane.
Oh, I forgot Iyaz is on. I'm Jason Howell.
He could lean in.
Yeah, that's true.
And just,
Iyaz Akhtar.
Yeah, he's here.
He's training on the TriCaster.
Yeah, Jason's
today.
going off on vacation, so Iyaz is back there shadowing him.
That's right.
Learning how to do all of the button pushing for the coming week. But we have some great guests with us today. Author of iPad Means Business. I have a copy right here.
Because it does.
Julio Ojeda-Zapata, also from the St. Paul Pioneer Press. Good to have you on the show.
Thank you. It's an honor.
Thanks for coming along. And then via video from France, the newly engaged Patrick Beja.
Congratulations.
Hello, thank you. Thank you very much.
Of course.
I'm still swimming in bliss.
So you're going to be useless on this show, aren't you?
Well, it's also
I might
like
talk about engagement here and there.
It's just out of
not
nowhere.
much tech news.
it's also like 1 o'clock in the morning for you right
That's
now.
right. That's right. Thank you for staying up. Thank you for your patience. We're getting started a little late this week, pretty much all week on everything, just because of the new studio shakedown. It's our shakedown cruise. We're shaking out the bolts. In fact, we've had some feed issues that have nothing to do with the studio, but just want to let people know that if you're wondering why the video version particularly has been late.
The video feed in particular has been, and for a lot of Twitch shows actually, has been kind of delayed in coming out pretty significantly. But I'm told that it's fixed. It was a power supply on a server that feeds the video feeds, pulls the information for it. I'm told that it's fixed. So you should be seeing today's episode in a timely fashion, I hope.
Let's get right to our first story. Nintendo, it's earnings day, by the way, so just get ready for some earnings news.
It's been, I feel like it's earnings month.
It's like, it's a couple weeks of solid earnings going on. Starbucks had their earnings today.
Well,
Up by a third.
Starbucks is doing really well.
Yeah, but Nintendo's earnings, not quite as amazing. They slashed their financial projections for the year from 110 billion yen to just 20 billion yen. On the good side, though, they announced a price drop for the Nintendo 3DS. Dropping down from $249 to $169. Is this because they can't sell them?
That would be my guess. It's good news if you want to get a 3DS, but it doesn't. It kind of sounds a little desperate on the side of Nintendo just because it's down so much.
I'm not a gamer, but I used my son, my 13-year-old son, as a guinea pig with these things, and I brought. I review tech products for the St. Paul Pioneer Press, and I brought a 3DS home. To have my son play with, and he played with it for 10 minutes.
That's it.
And that's it. He had absolutely no interest in the thing. And I also used it a little bit. The 3D is gimmicky. It's hard to use, and dedicated portable gaming machines, I don't think they have much of a future. So.
Yeah, I think everybody's using their phones these days. EA's CEO was saying their fastest growing platform is the iPad. That's where they're selling all their games. Meanwhile, Nintendo's trying to get some people to buy it by dropping the price and trying not to annoy the people who've already bought it or plan to buy it between now and the price drop. Price drop doesn't happen until August 12th. So if you pay the early adopter tax, they're going to give you some free games. Anybody who logs into the Nintendo 3DS eShop at least once before August 12th will get 10 free NES Virtual Console games on September 1st, plus 10 more Game Boy Advance Virtual Console games sometime by the end of the year. As Ars Technica's Ben Kuchera put it, isn't this why we all bought a 3DS to begin with? To play previous generation Nintendo games in 2D?
Yeah.
So this is a pretty easy argument to make, and I have to say that overall I sort of agree with all of you. But just to make the contrarian's argument here, this is Nintendo we're talking about. They're not they're not playing around. But first of all, they shouldn't be discarded. because they are really huge, giant players in the market, and they have huge, giant games coming to the 3DS. And second, they might have priced it a little bit high at the beginning. And that's a mistake they made with the Nintendo Wii when they first released it. They thought maybe they could have sold it a little bit more expensive, and then they couldn't put the raise the price. So maybe they thought, let's try it out with the 3DS with a higher price, and then lower it if it doesn't work out, and we'll still sell tons of them there. For the holiday season. And remember that when the iPhone came out, it was also priced way too high. People thought it was a great product, but what was it? 4 weeks after the release, they had to lower the price very significantly, and then it started selling like hotcakes. So, let's not be too hard on Nintendo yet.
This is also the company, though, that it's gone on record by saying iPad games, for example, it's not even... It's almost like an insulting experience. We're not going that way. We're not interested. We do high quality stuff.
Yeah.
It starts to turn into something where it's like, well, it's something that's too expensive for people, and they want to play.
Of a dinosaur.
Yeah, they want to play 99-cent game apps. Then they might have to eat their words.
Nobody likes all that newfangled stuff. We make quality. I mean,
That's
how
a
many?
bunch of cheap junk.
You probably heard the 8-track manufacturers say that, and the people who made 78s, and it's just it's kind of the cry of someone who doesn't want to admit that one of their businesses may be threatened.
The model has changed.
Nintendo should just nuke its portable hardware business and just become an iOS developer. Just go for that market aggressively.
Or should they make a phone?
So
the Nintendo phone.
So basically, I didn't convince any of you guys with my very moving speech.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, to Tom's point, the Sony phone is just kind of a lame device.
Yeah, Xperia Play. Yeah. Well, maybe they shouldn't then. On to Sprint, also doing an earnings call, gained 1 million customers, wholesale and prepaid mostly, though. They lost 101,000 postpaid. Postpaid is the industry term for people who are on contract, and that's really where you want to gain. But they did gain 1 million customers, but lost $847 million, which is actually more than they lost a year ago. So not a rosy picture for Sprint, but they did, again, have an announcement to distract you from their bad earnings report. 15-year agreement with LightSquared. Sprint will provide LTE ground service and 3G roaming to LightSquared when LightSquared rolls out its satellite-based LTE service. And if you haven't heard of LightSquared, they want to provide wholesale access to LTE across the United States so that anybody can become a carrier. They're not interested in retail, and tying up with Sprint gives them a big infrastructure on the ground. So they've got the satellites, they beam it to the ground. It gives them roaming on 3G, so once they've launched in a couple of markets, they can still provide national service. And then Sprint gets out of it a $4.5 billion credit towards purchase of LTE service on the LightSquared network. In fact, they can purchase up to 50% of LightSquared capacity. All of this still needs to be approved by the FCC. The FCC still needs to be satisfied that LightSquared has worked out a solution to their interference with GPS, which we've talked about on the show before. But if they did get that worked out and they do launch in the second half of 2012 like they're expecting, does this mean Sprint becomes an LTE provider?
Well, I think in the best case scenario they do. I don't know how this ties into the whole Clearwire part of it. What became clear today for Clearwire?
Yeah, less became clear.
Yeah,
in that
I think
sense,
Clearwire is probably like, this is very murky,
that
actually.
Sucks. That sucks for us. We're all WiMAX.
Yeah.
When I hear the acronym LTE, my ears perk up and I get really excited because I'm a gigantic fan of LTE on the Verizon network. Just absolutely stunning performance. I'm heartbroken that the Verizon iPhone does not support it. LTE is a technology with legs, so I'd love to see more carriers embrace it.
Yeah, and I'd like to see the competition that could happen with a wholesale provider of it. That we could have, some of these MVNOs could suddenly become legitimate carriers instead of just having to rent. Virgin rents their space. They're an MVNO, so Sprint provides the network. They could do that with LightSquared and actually make more money and become more competitive. I think all of this worry about AT&T buying T-Mobile becomes less of a worry. It doesn't go away. It becomes less of a worry if LightSquared gets rolling. And a LightSquared partnership with Sprint, I think, could be a big help to Sprint.
Well, yeah, I mean, $9 billion over 11 years. LightSquared's like, awesome, we're saving money by partnering with you, and Sprint gets all this money that they clearly need.
Yeah, they get a cash
Might put them
infusion.
in a good position.
Patrick, do you have any thoughts on LightSquared before we move on?
I would like to have the beginning of the start of a 4G network in France. That's all the comment I have to.
You have nothing? You have no
Crickets.
LTE? Nothing?
They're going to start selling the spectrum, I think, by the end of the year.
All right, good luck with that. Maybe
So, yeah.
LightSquared can send a satellite your way. We'll talk to them.
That would be good of them.
All right, again, like I said, lots of earnings today. And so we'll wrap up a bunch of them coming mostly out of Japan. Sony, 15.5 billion yen, $200 million compared to $25.7 billion. I'm sorry, $15.5 billion loss compared to a $25.7 billion profit for the same quarter last year. They blame the earthquake, the PlayStation Network outage, and slow Bravia TV, PC, and camcorder sales. So it wasn't just the earthquake. They've got some markets that are tightening up on them, especially the TV space. Fujitsu also lost 20.4 billion yen. They blamed the earthquake, the stronger yen, and lack of consumer demand. Sharp operating profit of 3.5 billion yen, which sounds good, except it's down 84.4% over last year's profit. So they really got cut to the bone there. Again, weak demand for TVs hurt them, and they're transitioning one of their TV plants to make small displays for the iPhone and the iPad. So that'll pay off in the long run, but that's a cost right now. Toshiba was the only one with good news out of Japan. Slight rise in net quarterly profit to 470 million yen due to demand for power systems and home appliances. So if you're not in the TV space, it seemed like you weathered this better. Finally, Motorola Mobility on Friday said its sales for the past quarter totaled 3.3 billion, up 28% from a year ago, but they ended up having a loss because of various charges. Of course, Motorola just split up into two pieces, Motorola Mobility being the consumer-focused one, the one that sells the phones.
I mean, do we feel like the weak demand for TV specifically is just kind of an economic downturn type of a thing? Obviously, it's Sony didn't have a good first half of the year for a variety of reasons, but to say camcorders are down, that doesn't really surprise me because a lot of people just have video on their mobile devices and that's in use more and more. But TVs, people still want TVs, just maybe more are being sold, or less rather are being sold overall.
Yeah, I'm a tech journalist, not a financial journalist, and I'm not really sure how to interpret this, but just thinking in broader terms, is this sort of a symptom of how the Orient's ascendancy in technology is waning, and companies, stateside companies like Apple, are sort of on the rise?
Yeah, both of those things are definitely contributing factors, and I think there's just a lot more competition in the TV market. You know, there's a lot of good quality television makers out there, and so people are competing, and the prices are going down, and the profit margins just aren't there. Patrick, you were going to say something.
I was just going to wonder aloud if people aren't just buying less TVs. If there's, either there's, as we've been saying for years, more stuff to do, or they've all bought their HD TV now, maybe even a second HD TV after the first one a few years ago, and they're like, okay, settle down. We don't need to change it this soon. We're going to have another 3D thing and then a super HD or whatever. Let's calm down for a couple of years.
I think that's a good point. I mean, I've got 2 HD TVs in my house. One I rarely even turn on. It's like, I'm not getting another TV until one of these goes up in flames. I mean, I am good to go for a good decade if I can swing it.
I have a 32-inch Westinghouse TV that I bought five years ago. It's wonderful. I love it, and I test. I have 3D TVs and such coming into the office to play with, and none of them have made me want to spend to replace my current TV, which is fine.
Yeah, I think my TV, I'm trying to think right now. I think I replaced both my TVs 4 years ago. I haven't thought about it since.
Yeah.
I don't really care about 3D. I don't mind if it's in there when I buy my next TV, but I'm not rushing out to get it. They're all capable of good high def. I don't care so much about widgets. I'm one of those suckers that goes by. There's the Rokus and the Boxies and all of that stuff to try them out.
So you're definitely giving the companies your money.
I'm giving some companies my money,
not the TV makers.
Yeah. All right,
so you're all good with your TVs, and that's going to be until Steve Jobs announces his real Apple TV.
Oh,
right? Then we're all going to rush to the Apple store.
That's right, Pat.
Yeah, all right. We need a break from Apple rumors to thank our sponsor at Squarespace.com. It's the fast and easy way to create a high-quality website or blog. You hear us say that all the time, but it really is. I challenge you to go right now to squarespace.com and start a site. Start a website within the next 20 seconds. You can do
That's
it.
your challenge?
I know. It's not even much of a challenge.
It's just easy.
But a lot of people don't realize that. They're like, oh, starting a website, that's hard. That's a lot of coding. No, you go to Squarespace, you give them a username and ID. You don't even have to give them a credit card. You'll have a site like that, and it'll be a good-looking site because you can pick a template, you can pick a few modules, and it's there. And in fact, if you want to take just a tiny bit more time, you can actually import your site from WordPress, Typepad, Blogger, all the major blog services out there, and have all the data from your old blog in there. You can keep your old blog, have the new one, test it out, compare them side by side, see which one you like, try them out.
I did exactly that with Squarespace, and everything came over really nicely.
Yeah, I use it for Sword and Laser. I use it for Forecast. It just makes it super easy. And the cloud architecture they have gives you speed and site stability. So you're not managing a server yourself. You're not relying on some hosting service to manage it for you. Squarespace takes care of everything for you from top to bottom, so you don't have to mess with it at all. You got good stability, good reliability, everything you need, and online resources and a special support team to give you personal help 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We love Squarespace, so try them out for free, squarespace.com, and use the offer code TNT7 if you decide to purchase the service, and you get 10% off for 6 months. So that's just a little added bonus on top of it.
Can I say one more thing about Squarespace?
Yeah, sure.
I'm working on a presentation for a blogging conference back in Minnesota, and the topic of my presentation is how to blog via an iPad. And it's a wasteland out there. It's just awful. And Squarespace, I think, has the best iPad
Right, because they have the
app
iPad
for
app.
posting. Yeah. It's really terrific.
Check them out, squarespace.com. We thank them for their support of Tech News Today. We also thank Nielsen for making this beautiful graph of the smartphone marketplace in the United States. Check this out. Iyaz and I were admiring the design of this today.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean,
so look.
What about it is so wonderful to you?
Everything across the bottom is the operating system, right? So you can see Android operating system 39%, and that's the width. Apple iPhone OS 28%. So, and that's, you know, it goes by width, getting smaller and smaller. But then you got people like Apple and RIM who are not just OS makers, but they're also device makers. So the OS and the device numbers are the same. So then if you look from the bottom up, it shows you the percentage of the marketplace they have of devices. And then you see that the Android one is broken up into HTC, Motorola, Samsung. It's just easy to read.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah,
you're right.
I agree.
What doesn't surprise me is any of the numbers. Really.
No, they're all pretty much the same
old
as
story.
last month. Everybody's making a big deal. Android still dominating the OS market, but Apple, the top device maker in the U.S. Yeah, Android is at 39%. Last month, they were at 38%. iOS, 28%. Last month, they were 27%. RIM was 20%. Last month, they were 21%. So
Android up, iPhone up a little.
Yeah, everybody's
RIM down.
Yeah, just little notches there. Windows 9% now. Windows Mobile last time was 9%. Windows Phone 7 was 1%. So they went down a little bit if you look at it that way. They probably went up in Windows Phone 7, down in Windows Mobile. But yeah, I mean, these numbers, they come out every month. They don't seem to budge much. Do they are they meaningful?
Well, the thing that I'm trying to figure out, I don't have an answer. Maybe you guys have can shed some light on it. Why is Android so incredibly successful in the smartphone space, and on the tablet category, it's struggling so badly? There are decent tablet apps for Android. Are non-existent. I don't know why that is.
My theory on that's a really good point, because this isn't talking about mobile operating systems. It's talking about smartphone operating systems. If you started throwing in tablets, it's going to make these numbers look a lot different. I think it's because, if you remember, when Android first came out, it was in the same boat that the tablets are in right now. They had a couple of phones. They weren't that great. Even when they started to get on more phones, it took till Froyo for people to really say, okay, now it's a worthwhile smartphone. And then it was Gingerbread that made folks like catch fire and definitely want to have the phones. Froyo and Gingerbread were the breakthrough operating systems. I don't think Gingerbread and Honeycomb are doing that for the tablets yet. It remains to be seen if they will, but if it followed the pattern, you would think that maybe Honeycomb starts to bring in some more interest, and Ice Cream Sandwich becomes the Froyo.
With Android phones, that there was at least an uptick. You could see detectable improvement. The needle on tablets
it took over a year, though.
moving.
It took over a year for the smartphones to start to tick.
I mean, we're still in for the most part, our first year of Android tablets.
And especially Android tablets that are meant to, that are running an OS that's actually supposed to be for tablets. Up until a few months ago, there were plenty of tablets out there, but they were all running an OS that was not designed for running on a tablet.
Exactly.
So now
we've had a lot of tablets that were rushed to market because they were trying to compete with the very successful iPad. That's all going to get ironed out. I think in 2 years from now, I think the story will be a lot more similar to how Android smartphones have been successful.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of LT, which we mentioned earlier, the Verizon Galaxy Tab with LT is out. So that is a big step.
And that will help. That will help expand that Android marketplace for sure. Patrick, you were about to say something, and I know it was hard to butt in.
Sure, no problem. Well, there are two things I would say. First of all, your thinking about the tablets certainly has some validity, and I think it might very well be true. But there's also another scenario that might happen, which is tablets are a little bit less utilitarian than the smartphones. By that I mean everyone has a smartphone and they just want something to make calls that works. And if they have an Android, then cool, because it can do a bunch of other stuff. Whereas for tablets, you want this thing that you're actually going to use for a specific set of tasks. And I'm not sure that people will, it's not going to be as easy to sell an Android tablet to someone as it is a smartphone based on Android. That's a possibility. The other thing is, if you really want to look at something, find something to say about these numbers for smartphones specifically, the iPhone is getting older and older, and rumors about the iPhone 5 are coming again and again. And the market share of the iPhone is not really going down, which is really a tiny thing. But if you really want to comment about the numbers we have from Nielsen, I guess that's the one thing I would have to say.
All right, let's move on to British Telecom being ordered by the High Court in the UK to block a website. The website's called Newsbin2. It is a reincarnation of a site that was shut down previously in the UK, and it's a Usenet search engine. It essentially allows you to just go and find stuff that's on Usenet. Now, why is that controversial? Well, a lot of the stuff on Usenet is pirated movies, copyright infringing TV shows, music, and stuff like that. And if you go to Newsbin, you'll see they have a left side nav that takes you right to easy searches for movies and TV shows and such. Their defense is that they're just a search engine. They're not hosting the stuff, so don't go after them. ISP's defense has always been, we're a conduit for traffic. If somebody's doing something wrong on our network, it's not up to us to enforce it. But the judge disagreed. He said, in my judgment, it follows that BT has actual knowledge of other persons using its service to infringe copyright. It knows that the users and operators of Newsbin2 infringe copyright on a large scale, and in particular infringe the copyrights of the studios in large numbers of their films and television programs. So he's ordered them to come back with the Motion Picture Association in October to work out how the blocking will happen. And the studios have made it clear this is a test case. If they're successful in obtaining this order against BT, they intend to seek similar orders against all other significant ISPs in the UK. This is a blow for Safe Harbor. The ISPs are now going to be subjected to lots of orders and lots of cost and policing things.
Yeah, basically, if you know that this is going on, you're an accomplice, and you can't do that. So, murky.
I don't understand how the judge could let this go, because this opens the door to such an immense, flood of requests about anything. Because already for movies, it is sort of, I'm guessing that most of us would not be very much for that decision. But then people can start requesting blocks from ISPs about everything. And this is really a very concerning decision that I see here.
Yeah, I think the motion picture industry is definitely going to bring a flood of cases once this is resolved. And BT has said they're not going to appeal it. So this decision is going to stand, and we'll see where it goes from there. But the time-honored principle of the ISP is just, they're like the mail system. They don't open the packages; they just deliver the packets. It takes a blow here, because the judge is looking at this website as a user of the service of BT, even though they're in Switzerland and they're just on the internet. I think it's a fundamental misunderstanding of how the internet works.
Why wouldn't BT want to appeal this? They just feel like it would be financially not feasible, or they don't think they can win.
Or maybe they have a different strategy that I'm unaware of. But yeah, I was disappointed as well that they decided not to appeal. Finally, Google is expanding their page speed service. They've had a page speed extension for Chrome that allows you to speed up any page you visit. It's sort of an experimental extension. There's also an API that you can use to speed up your own pages. And now, through an invite-only service that is free but will eventually be a pay service, they're starting the page speed service. Google essentially will grab your website, cache it, and serve it from the company's extensive network of servers around the world. So they think they can improve your page loading from 20 to 60%. All you have to do is point your DNS at Google's servers. Google rewrites the pages. They say, now you don't have to worry about concatenating CSS, compressing images, caching, gzipping, all that other stuff. We'll take care of that for you. That's what Ram Ramani wrote on the Google blog. They do warn some pages may or may not render properly. Most will render properly, but if they don't, there's a blacklist you can add to the service. Now, here's the thing. Wired pointed this out, so I took it to the test. On webmonkey.com, they said, you're not going to get a big advantage to this if your only advantage is going to be a CDN. In other words, if you've done everything right on your page and the only thing that could speed it up would be having a CDN host a bunch of your images and videos, you're really not going to see an improvement. So I did a test with my own website, tommerritt.com, and I actually did get, hold off, don't press play yet, Jason, on the video. Go ahead and put it up, though. I did get an improvement in page load time, repeat view page load time, but I got a less of an improvement. I got a, I don't know, disimprovement of half a second in start render time, and that's how fast you start to see stuff. So if you watch on our video, when you replay it, look on the left is my original site, and the right is the optimized site. Now, it looks like the original site loaded faster, but that's because the start render time was faster. And the optimized site actually did finish loading the entire set of code faster, but because the start render time wasn't as fast, it didn't do me any good.
What's interesting about this is it wouldn't do you any good, but you would be expected to pay for this service. So you'd really want to make sure.
Well, and that's, I guess that's one of the reasons they have this test page up that anybody,
to see if it's worth your money.
If you go to the web page test, you can compare the load times. It's at code.google.com. We'll have the link in the show notes, or just go to WebMonkey and look for the article. They've got the link there as well. I think this is a cool service, and I think a lot of people will be able to benefit from it, but you're going to want to test it out first.
Yeah. Do we have any idea what the, have we been given a ballpark of what this might cost, monthly fee?
I don't know. How much do you think it's worth?
That's a really good question. I guess it would just depend on the size of your company, your site, what you're using it for.
It'll be free if you can say concatenating on the first try.
Exactly.
Just speaking a bit more broadly, I'm a big fan of what Google is doing along these lines, ranging from the innovations that it's building into its Chrome browser all the way up to the whole pointing to their DNS. There was a major Comcast outage in the Twin Cities, and I was sitting at my computer scratching my head, wondering why the hell I wasn't affected. And it dawned on me, 6 months earlier, I had pointed my DNS at Google, and I was like, I would pay for this.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
just to have the peace of mind. Yeah, I think maybe a $50 a year type of thing might make it worth it if it's giving you significant, 20 to 60% page load improvement. Because even if that start render time is lower, if you've got a full 4 or 5 second improvement on the full load, that's going to help, especially if you have a lot of scripts and things like that. It just depends on what kind of site you have. All right, let's move on to the news fuse. Remember when Yahoo and Alibaba were best friends?
Yeah.
Yeah, back before they had the falling out.
40 thieves took all the money.
Yahoo's probably jealous right now. Alibaba announced it has developed a mobile OS which is based on Linux, dubbed Alien. The OS will be able to run Android apps as well as web apps. The Alien handsets will first hit China next month. Alibaba's also working on an English language version, expected to be completed by the end of this year.
Interesting. I'd like to see that. You guys big OLED fans?
Go OLED!
Yeah? Well, VP of AU Optronics Paul Peng says large OLED TVs will simply not be commercially feasible until the year 2014 due to poor yield rates. I don't know if he actually said it in that snotty sort of a way, but I'm just
Probably not,
paraphrasing.
but,
He might want to tell LG that, though, because that company is planning to introduce a 55-inch OLED next year. So either LG is prepared to take a loss on the next TV, or they know something that we don't.
Yeah, perhaps
or that
they're
Paul
time
Peng
travelers.
doesn't.
Or they're just introducing one OLED 55-inch, just one unit.
They're literally introducing one. I don't think that's it.
Who will buy it?
29 universities in the United States are banding together for the Gig U project. It's not some sort of insult. The project aims to build a broadband infrastructure, and not only to their campuses, but also the surrounding businesses and individuals who live near the university. Gig U is not looking for government dollars and hopes that broadband companies and private investors will help fund the effort.
Spotify just launched in the U.S. to much fanfare and also to patent infringement lawsuit by Packet Video. So which patent is it, you ask? People like to know which patents we're talking about. Well, it's patent 5,636,276. That's the one that covers a device for the distribution of music information in digital form. And it's from 1995.
1995. Is that still valid?
Packet Video didn't do the R&D behind the patent, so the company just bought it years ago, which in all fairness gives the company rights to sue anybody because that's how we do it in America, Spotify. What's up?
Spotify just got squatified.
Let's hear your argument. And some music.
South Korean social network Cyworld has been hacked. According to the Korean Communications Commission, data like phone numbers, names, and email addresses, sound familiar, from 35 million accounts on Cyworld were compromised. Agency says that the source of the hack led them to an IP address based in, guess where? Guess where?
I don't know.
China.
Oh.
That's, the best place to spoof that you're from because everybody will just give up looking.
You want to play Driver San Francisco from Ubisoft?
Yeah, it sounds fun.
Well,
I
you better
play it every day in real life.
That's true.
But yeah, why not?
Today it took me an hour, actually, and I cried a little bit. Drank my kombucha in silence. You better have an always-on internet connection if you want to play Driver San Francisco, because otherwise you can't play. The news came via a tweet from an Ubisoft developer, and it echoes a statement on Steam's pre-order page. Now, Ubisoft did try to do this before with Assassin's Creed 2. You might remember it caused a really big backlash. So, I don't know. Maybe this time gamers are like, yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, there's like, we'll
Maybe
just keep
not.
pounding them over the head till they pass out and they'll stop objecting. Depending on how you look at it, Twitter has either made it very convenient to see sponsored messages in your feed or has cluttered your feed up with ads. If you follow a brand or company, you will now see promoted tweets from that brand highlighted in your timeline, though only from companies that you follow at this point. Twitter clients like Twitter for iPhone or TweetDeck will not display the ads. Alternatively, you could just unfollow the companies if you get upset. And it'll go away, at least for now, till they start.
Yeah, I love the idea. My first reaction is, ooh, intrusive, yuck. But it's like, if I'm following the brand, that I'm assumed to be interested in what they've got going on.
They just get they're paying for highlighting.
Yeah, very interesting experiment.
I should have tried that in college.
In its quarterly report, Logitech announced a loss of $29.6 million, and also that its CEO, Gerald P. Quindlen, is leaving the company. Logitech also explained that more units of the Logitech Review with Google TV were returned. That's more than were purchased.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. To get sales moving, the Review will get a $150 price reduction down to $99.
I'm taking a page out of Nintendo's book. And finally, a new Swiss study suggests that there is no connection between brain cancer in children and cell phone usage. At least the study did not find a connection. The study covered 998 children between the ages of 7 and 19 over a 4-year time span. 352 of them were diagnosed with brain cancer and used a cell phone 20 or more times. The researchers then looked at the location of the tumors, but the location did not correspond to where a cell phone would have been located. So not definitive, but another study to add to the pile.
It's encouraging if you're hoping that cell phones don't cause brain tumors.
Just going to take a lot of these studies.
Yeah.
Let's move to the randomizer, which also has been shown not to be linked to cancer.
No.
Yeah.
In fact,
That's a good thing. We do that every day.
Yeah,
Almost.
I know. We're exposed to Randomizer
It
constantly.
improves the quality of life, the randomizer.
And today's Randomizer story is about glow-in-the-dark dogs.
Yes, it is.
A research team from Seoul National University said they have genetically modified a female beagle named Tigon, born in 2009, to glow fluorescent green under ultraviolet light if given a doxycycline antibiotic. The idea is that because there are 268 illnesses that humans and dogs have in common, you could create dogs that artificially show symptoms, and that could aid treatment methods for diseases that afflict humans. But you want to make sure that the gene transcription method works first, so you start with glow in the dark.
Now, hold on. The drug doxycycline allowed the beagles to glow green?
Yeah. So they had a gene that made them glow if they had doxycycline.
Because that is crazy. I took doxycycline for a year once to it's like a anti-malaria
you didn't
drug.
have the gene
I know,
implanted in you.
but had I had it, you would have been able to see me in the dark.
Well,
Yeah.
that's the immediate question that everyone is going to ask, especially
Where
in
do I get this
trans
gene?
parties. When can I get this gene?
I need
You
this
know,
amazing gene.
This is the first time they've done it with dogs, but they've done it with cats several times. Cats have been glowing in the dark since 2005. And South Korean scientists were behind it.
0.1 for cats.
Yeah.
Now, hold on a second. I know antibiotics, we don't want to abuse them. If dogs and cats are abusing antibiotics just to be able to glow, are the rest of us just going to get sick more easily?
No,
Because I don't think that's fair.
I think the point
dogs
is
and
that
cats.
they'll be able to use these genes to cure diseases.
Oh.
I don't think we're going to have strung out cats and dogs looking for antibiotics so they can glow.
So wait,
Just
are
wanted
we
to make
supposed
that
to
clear,
eat
that would
the
be
cats and
irresponsible.
dogs?
What?
Are we supposed to eat the cats and dogs
Who
if
said
we get
anything about
diseases
eating the cats and
This,
no?
this
don't
isn't
know, like-
France, okay? We're not eating cats and dogs.
Let's move on to the
Well,
calendar.
we were
right.
talking about China.
I don't know what's happened.
The BBC has launched their global iPlayer app for customers, not all over the globe, but in Austria, Belgium, France, Germany, Italy, Luxembourg, the Republic of Ireland, the Netherlands, Portugal, Spain, and Switzerland. So you can download offline access to BBC programs, which customers in the UK can't actually do. So it'll be €7 a month or €50 a year if you're in one of those countries. Pretty cool.
Can't wait till they bring it here.
Yeah, me either. I'd love that. The Motorola Photon 4G is ready for order on Sprint's site, and it's scheduled to ship on July 31st. Skype 5.5 for Windows is now available and has deeper Facebook integration.
Yeah, it's all that.
If you like that sort of thing.
Facebook stuff that
Yeah, it's all Facebook.
Zuckerberg was talking about.
RIM has released BBM 6, which does some cool new stuff. You can chat within apps. You can both view and download your friends' favorite apps from lists on their BBM profiles. So it's got kind of a deeper social element that's fun for BBM users.
20% of you out there apparently will care.
Exactly. But a
to
rabid
Nielsen,
20.
yeah.
A happy rabid 20. Tomorrow, July 29th, is the 12th annual Sysadmin Appreciation Day.
Hey, Chris and Bear.
I bet if you
And
think
Russell.
about it, you've got a sysadmin who is underappreciated. So tomorrow is the day.
Do you have a sysadmin that you're going to thank tomorrow?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And you, Patrick, do you have a sysadmin you plan to thank tomorrow?
I have a sysadmin, and I think all sysadmins are underappreciated. So yes, definitely.
All right, see?
It's
Don't forget your sysadmin, July 29th.
right. And then the day after that, keep appreciating them.
Yeah, don't stop.
That's
Don't start
actually
kicking 'em back.
that's sort of the key to all of this. The U.S. Senate Judiciary Committee Subcommittee on Antitrust, Competition Policy, and Consumer Rights announced today it'll hold a hearing. What's it going to be about? The power of Google serving consumers or threatening competition on September 21st at 2 p.m. And Eric Schmidt is going to be there.
Yeah, he's the star
He's
witness.
got something to say for sure. Finally, the Droid Bionic will come this September, according to Motorola Mobility CEO Sanjay Jha in an interview with CNET.
Finally, Droid Bionic. Anyone excited about the Droid Bionic?
I believe I am excited about the Droid Bionic.
The Droid 3, I'm playing with the Droid 3 right now. I think it, in terms of just the physical form factor, it's the perfect phone. I just love it. It just doesn't have the 4G, which is a disappointment.
Yeah, you are a big LTE fan, aren't you?
I love it.
I can
love
tell.
it.
All right, let's look at our voicemails. That won't work. Let's listen to our voicemails. 260 TNT show.
I'm looking. It looks like a bunch of nothing.
This call is in regards to the Microsoft idea of heating your house via servers in the basement.
Hello? It's not playing.
It really is about that, though.
yeah, okay, all right.
No, I'm serious.
Yeah, sure, Tom.
Trying to shut up Mike in New Hampshire. You can't stop his voice.
Jason, you will not stop.
His
it.
Hi,
Hey guys, this is Mike in New Hampshire. You guys kind of derided the servers being used to heat your home, but here in the Northeast, your basement stays about 68 in the summer and doesn't get down below 60 in the winter. So you put it in the basement. In the winter, you just vent it into the living space above, and in the summer, you can flip a switch and let it go outside, and I think it might actually work. Love the show. Have a good day. Bye.
Very smart.
All right, we've got a Minnesotan here. Server rack in your basement, think that would work to heat your house?
Well, the first thing I thought about was TWiT. You got all the stuff in your basement.
That's right.
Is that lowering your?
We actually do have our server
Is that lowering
rack.
your bills or?
We'll find out this winter.
Yeah.
It's not helping us out right now, that's for sure.
After 4 days, it's hard to say.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
Moving on to the emails, TNT@twit.tv. Mark in Mississauga, Ontario, Canada, wrote in and said, here's some food for thought about interpreting those Nielsen results. These are yesterday's Nielsen results about video consumption. He said, sure, how many people watch video on a device is important, but more important is how much they watch. If only 3% are watching Netflix video on iPads, they could be watching 4 times as much as those who watch on other devices such as a laptop. This could totally change what the study means for businesses. So, for instance, we had the other study that said 22% of mobile traffic is YouTube video. That is addressing Mark's criticism here. He's saying the Nielsen study just says how many people, but maybe they're just consuming a lot of bandwidth.
Maybe so. Next email from Mr. Vic, the comedian for kids and families.
Hi,
Hello.
Mr. Vic.
Hello, Mr. Vic. And this is in reference to Ford not putting CD players in their future car models. As an enjoyer of music, I have next to no use for CDs unless I'm collecting from my favorite band. Otherwise, downloads are fine. However, as a children's comedian, musician, CDs are still really relevant 9 times out of 10. Moms request physical media because it's easier to play in the minivans, etc. As a dad, I keep booklets of CDs in our car for the kiddos to enjoy while my wife and I listen to podcasts. I like how forward-thinking Ford has been. I hope they keep it up, but I think a lot of families still want that good old plastic disc option. It's kept my business going. I think he's right, at least for the next 5 years.
Yeah, my wife is the classic case. I've given her, I think, 2 or 3 iPods so far, and she just keeps backsliding to the discs. She's got her disc player in the kitchen,
And we got, I had 3 or 4 emails from people saying, "Hey, yeah, I still use discs, and here's why." And they had decent, logical reasons for why they use it. So it's certainly not dead by any stretch.
No, I mean these are the sorts of CDs have been prevalent for quite a while now. People know how to use them. They're used to using them.
It's
we've
just
been able to burn CDs for a long time.
Dying.
It's
not dead.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I
Good way to put it.
still walk down the street and see people with the CD players. I still see that. It amazes me.
Yeah. It amazes me when I see cassettes in people's car. Every once in a while you get in a car, even a
seen one in a
model
while.
car, and they'll have a cassette deck in there. That's because you need the cassette
I was going to make
adapter.
that joke about. I was going to make that joke about France and cassette players and stuff like that. And you
Do all your
stole it,
Citroens
you
have cassette
evil-
players?
Is
in
there
it?
a joke about France and cassette tapes?
There's a joke about France and every old technology thing.
All right, let's thank our Redditors who help submit stories for consideration on the show at technewstoday.reddit.com. 1,597 Tech News Today readers in there. Thanks to Eliminate, MacBites, Captain Kipper, Tony W., Gadget Devil, TM204, and more for submitting stories, and everybody for voting them up and down. We appreciate your help in putting together the lineup. And I think the email came out from Lisa, our CEO. There's only like 400 or 500 more bricks left.
Ooh.
We've got over 1,300 sold.
Wow.
Something like that.
And we've only got 2,000 and that can be sold?
Yeah, well, there's only so much room over there to put the bricks up. So if you would like to get your name on the wall here in the news studio, not on these bricks back here behind me, but the bricks out in the lobby is where they'll go, you can go to bricks.twit.tv and put your own personalized message on a brick for everyone to see. We've been getting tons of people coming in and watching shows. They're going to walk right past your name, your message, your logo, whatever it is you want.
And better yet, you can come in and see your own brick. Take a picture, and it's fun.
Julio, you going to get a brick?
set.
You want a brick? You want to get a brick?
I wish my newspaper's ethical policies allowed such a thing.
Yeah. Maybe the newspaper. Maybe you could convince the St. Paul Pioneer
ethics.
Press to buy a brick with the logo on it or something. All right, thanks. Thanks again, Julio, for coming in and being on the show. Really appreciate.
It's I can't overstate it. What a pleasure it's been. Thank you.
Author of iPad Means Business. I get to do this like Jon Stewart. Totally. iPad Means Business. Julio Ojeda-Zapata. It's in a bookstore now. Go get it. There's a new edition, right? This is
yeah, it's just been dramatically updated for 2011.
Awesome.
Excellent. And Patrick Beja, always a pleasure. Le Rendezvous Tech is your French language tech podcast. Let folks know what else you're up to.
They can go to patrickbeja.com if they want to find links to my social media stuff. And if they speak French, dear listener, if you speak French and want French language podcasts, go to nowatch.net.
Nowatch.net.
That's the place to be.
Oh, I forgot to give your URL out. iPadmeans.biz.
Correct.
Is the place to get Julio's book.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for watching or listening. Twit.tv/TNT is our URL. That's the universal resource locator that allows you to come to our page and see all of the information. You can click into a wiki there, get our show notes. It's amazing. On that page, written down, if you look closely and read, is our email address. But I'll just tell you right now, it's TNT@twit.tv. Or you can give us a call. That phone number's on the website, too. But just so you know, it's 260-TNT show. We'll see you tomorrow. Iyaz will be running the board.